Hello little gremlins! So in today's video I'm going to be talking about the different types of top surgeries, the pros, the cons, who they're intended for, and for visual aid I'm going to try and provide sketches. So if that makes you uncomfortable, then this video isn't for you. Same applies if you're uncomfortable with terms such as like titty, boob, nipple, stuff like that. And I also want to provide a quick disclaimer. I'm not a surgeon, of course, and I can't really speak from experience, obviously, because I haven't yet had my top surgery. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. So, yeah, now that that's out of the way, on with the video. Which is intended for people with larger / saggier chests. And so basically what they do is they cut at the little nipple so that it's like smaller, and then they take it out, and then they save the little thing for later. And then they have like this little semicircle incision, and they remove that little bit of skin. So then they can take out all the fat and stuff like that. And then once that's done, they stitch the remaining skin together. And then they have like this little mark right here that's all stitched up. And then they cut at the skin so that it fits with the nipple. And then they put the nipple on. Now onto the pros and the cons of double incision. Some major pros of this are that you have more control over your nipple size and placement, and you can even go nippleless. You're less likely to have loose skin, fat, other stuff like that, because it is easier for the surgeon to remove this stuff. And the cons are that it tends to be more invasive and more expensive. There tends to be more scarring, obviously, because like there's the stitching down at like the bottom of your chest. And nipples, the feeling, you won't really be able to feel, you won't have much sensation there, and grafting it can make it more prone to infection. So basically what they do for this one is they cut around the nipple so that it's still there, but there's less of it so that it's smaller, more natural looking. And then they cut over here, and then they take off the skin, which is shaped kind of like a donut. And after that, they remove all of the fat and breast tissue in there. And once that's done, just erase this. Once that's done, they have like the remaining skin, they stitch around it, and then they tighten it up by pulling it like a drawstring bag. And then once that's done, the remaining skin is attached to the nipple, and then it's done. And now on to the pros and cons of periareolar. Okay, so the pros are that there's less scarring, you have sensation in your nipples because they weren't like chopped off, and it tends to be less invasive and therefore less expensive. So with the cons, there's potential for looseness, the nipples aren't removed, so I guess you just gotta be happy with where they are on your chest, because they're not removed and then put back on like double incision. And then there's a lower success / higher revision rate in comparison to double incision because of the looseness. This one is intended for smaller chested people, like A cup. And it's pretty simple. Basically what's done is they cut right here. It's a very, very small incision. In fact, you can barely even see it on the camera. And they remove all the fat, all the breast tissue, and then they just stitch it back up. And now, of course, it's time for the pros and the cons. Okay, so the pros are that, well, obviously there's less scarring. They tend to be less invasive and less spendy. And you're more likely to have a faster recovery than the other two surgeries. So for the cons, you can't resize it because there's literally like nothing cut into other than just like a tiny little cut. And because you don't cut off any skin, there tends to be a lot of loose stuff there. And, you know, since the nipple wasn't cut at, you don't choose where they end up. So basically what they do for this one is they cut out like a little flap, sort of like that. They remove all the stuff and they take the nipple, they resize it, and then they put it up here, and then they stitch it all back up so that when it's done, it looks like an inverted T. Alright, and on to the pros and the cons. Why did I do that so loud? So some major pros are that the nipple is repositioned, but not like completely severed, so you can still feel in that area. And because the incisions are bigger than like keyhole, the surgeon can really get in there and get all the tissue out. So this one is intended for those with a smaller chest and good skin elasticity. And so basically what they do is, it's kind of like keyhole where they just go right here, but they also make a small incision like right on the side of the boob. And they take all the stuff out, and then they just stitch it back up. So it's pretty simple. So of course, just as the name would suggest, there's minimal scarring. And it's also a less invasive procedure. And because they're not cutting at like the nipple, there's still sensation there. So buttonhole is intended for those with a larger chest. It's sort of like double incision where they have the horizontal incisions beneath the boob, and they resize the nipple. This is the main difference here. They resize the nipple, and then they move it up to another spot of skin, unlike where they just chop it off and then put it back on. They move it below the skin, sort of like a buttonhole. It just goes zoop. And they take out all the fat, all the titty stuff, stitch it back up, and voila. So some major pros are that obviously there's nipple sensation because it's not severed. You get a more natural look, sort of like with double incision, you know, they can really get in there and get the stuff out, so it looks more natural. You know, the titty is gone. This technique also tends to be more invasive and extensive. And you're going to have more scars, of course, because, you know, bigger incisions. And you're at risk for complications like infection on the scarring because, you know, there's more scarring. Later, losers.